What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Tee It Up. I'm your host, Pierre, Pee Wee the Plug, and Dreesen. We are back from our last episode, which was an incredible draft special with League Him, a.k.a. Jacob Myers. Shout out to my guy. I love the response that we got on that episode, and I love the support y'all given Jacob and League Him since then. He texted me personally saying, man, the audience that you guys have is so supportive. They're showing me so much love. And for me, that's always like, I don't know. It makes me feel good knowing that our community is such a open, supportive, loving community of people that just love basketball. So I thank y'all for hosting him and showing love to all of our guests and welcoming them all with open arms. It's something that you know, can never go too unnoticed. And I don't ever want to take for granted or not communicate that with y'all. But we are starting today. We got producer Christian on board. We have an incredible free agency episode or off-season episode to get into. I don't want to take up too much time with the intro, but I have been under the weather since we returned from Bristol. Part of that is just, I think, the traveling, the weather. When we went out there, it was like 97, 96 degrees. And out here in Chicago, it's been crazy. So I think just the environments of going outside in heat and then, going from 95, 97 degrees to going into your house or going into your car to 72, that back and forth, it really took a toll on my body. And so I got sick. And then when I was sick, I had like a stomach bug, stomach flu type thing. So I couldn't eat that well. In the first few days, I felt better. I went overboard with my eating because I was starving. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to eat something. So then I tried to eat too big, too fast, too soon. And I kind of remessed myself up. So I'm back feeling well though. I'm gonna take as many days as I need to ease back in so that don't happen again. But shout out to Christian for holding me down because yeah, we on a bounce back. We ain't 100% yet, but we about 92, 93. Christian, what's good, man? I ain't seen you in a while.
Good to see you. Happy to be here. Easing your way back in. Appreciate you stepping up. I know it's been tough, but we're gonna go through alphabetical order. The Atlanta Hawks are a team that a lot of people are talking about right now. Their odds have shot up in the Eastern Conference. So on draft night, they trade down, get Azanul at 23, pick up the unprotected first next year, sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker, sign Luke Kennard, and trade for Porzingis. And then out the door is Capella, LeVert, Larry Nance, George Niang, Terrence Mann. How are we feeling about what Atlanta's done?
When all of the injuries started to happen, right, you got the Tatum situation, and then we knew what Boston was going to do heading into the offseason, kind of taking a step back. Then you got the Halliburton injury, and it was all this talk about teams going for it. Like, I think they've done the best job of displaying going for it. And I've been high on the Hawks the last few years. It's been a little bit underwhelming for a lot of different reasons, but there's still something there that has attracted me to this situation. So to see them kind of push their chips into the middle of the table, and it's a weird situation because they're doing it, but they're doing it in an attractive way. Like some teams are just going to do whatever to try to get names or just literally throw anything at the wall. I really feel like they're putting together a really good team that even if there wasn't this Tatum injury or Halliburton injury, this would still be a team that I'm like, wow, don't sleep on the Hawks. So I think they're having one of the best off seasons. An incredible team to start this episode with because they've hit on everything. I think they maneuvered the draft as well as anybody, trading back and still getting the guy that they were mocked to get at 13 and Asa Newell. And then again, like you mentioned, getting that trade with the Pelicans and getting an unprotected pick between the Bucks and the Pelicans, to whichever is more favorable, that's going to be another asset for them next year. When you talk about moves and trades and everything like that. So you look at their lineup, it's going to probably be something of what, like Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Zachary Richardson, Jalen Johnson, Double O, and now that bench is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kennard, who's a sharpshooter, Kobe Buffkin, who I'm still interested in, and then you have the Asa Newells of the world. So I really love what the Hawks are doing. I don't think enough credit has gone to them for also maneuvering the Terrence Mann contract that I wasn't a fan of them receiving when they did. But the Kristaps Porzingis trade is interesting. So, Christian, when this trade first happened, I was fully healthy. I wasn't sick or anything, and I was streaming and talking about it. And there was a lot of people that was kind of like, like, I don't know about this one. And I was surprised because it's like you traded nothing to get him. And you got rid of the Terrence Mann contract. And I think if you're going to take a swing on a player like Porzingis, these are the times you do it. Last year of your deal, so it's his contract year for him. He has to play his best basketball to get some type of lucrative deal. And you don't really need him to like play 82 games. You already have a starting center. So it isn't like they're relying on Porzingis to come in and be this starter who's going to play 70 games and be one of the top players on the team. No, their understanding of what Kristaps Porzingis is, his injury history is obvious. I hate when people mention it like it's some surprising thing that somebody forgot. Kristaps Porzingis is a guy at this point who's probably going to play 45 to 57 games a year, and that's just what it is. But I think you take that if you're the Hawks, considering the price it took to acquire him. So I think the Hawks are going to be good, and I think I'm going to have Trae Young as my dark horse MVP going into next season. If I was giving a letter grade to the Hawks, they would be an A. Boom.
Next up, a related team, obviously, with the Celtics making that trade with Atlanta. So not only is Porzingis out, Holiday's out, and Luke Cornett bolts to the Spurs. You bring in Anthony Simons, a couple cheap deals, Josh Minott, Luka Garza, and then George Niang, who Boston fans hate, by the way, for like grabbing. I think Jalen Brown's late. So we'll be interesting to see if he stays. And then in the draft, get Hugo Gonzalez, 28th from Spain, Amari Williams, 46th, and Max Shulga, 57th.
Loved some of the draft picks that they had. I think Hugo Gonzalez is an intriguing wing. I don't think you have to rush this process. Probably stays another year overseas as well. I like Williams from Kentucky. He was very intriguing to me. I'm surprised that other teams didn't take a little swing on him. And then Shugler is an experienced guard who played really well last year. I think a lot of our viewers should know him because we talked about the bracket and whatnot. And I think his name was one that came up. So love what they did considering who they are in the draft. Now, the second apron thing is interesting because I was under the assumption that they were going to make moves but try to keep their team kind of pieced together in some sort of like way, and that just wasn't it. They like legitimately traded their guys for anybody that had an expiring deal. They didn't care about what that player was going to look like next to Tatum or Brown. It was like we want expiring deals, and we want to make sure we have cap flexibility so when Jason Tatum is healthy, we can remaneuver and restructure this team and fill the holes that we need, which is interesting. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't expect George Niang to be a part of this team's future, even if he has to play this year. Who cares? Like Celtic fans hate him. It's a business. That's just what it is. He's an expiring deal. The Brad Stevens doesn't look at him and says, "Oh my gosh, like we love him. He's going to be a part of this." He's expiring. That's just what it is. I think the main thing for me is to see what they do with Anthony Simons. They got Anthony Simons, and now it's being rumored that they're going to try to flip him and trade him again. I was actually intrigued with seeing Anthony Simons on the Celtics just because he shoots a bunch of threes. And I also want to say, like, I think it's time to see Anthony Simons play legitimate, like, high-level basketball. Just as a fan of the NBA, we've seen flashes and different things from him, but it's always kind of been on an underwhelming Portland team. So I was kind of excited to see him there. But yeah, I don't know. Because Tatum isn't here, it don't really matter. I do think losing Cornette was big for them. I do believe that. And if they lose Al Horford, that'll be another big thing. So we'll see. I think the one thing about them compared to a lot of other teams, they won't have Jason Tatum anyway. So this is a nothing year. And they may be tanking for one of these guys in this upcoming draft. So, shout out to the Celtics, but it's hard to judge or grade the offseason knowing that they're not going to really look into next year. This is what I will say. Will Derek White or Jaylen Brown survive? Because when I look around the NBA, a lot of teams are legitimately like doing whatever. And as much as you love Jaylen Brown and Derek White, I would not be surprised, even if it's past the offseason, it could go into next year at the deadline. If somebody is like, you know what, we're better than we thought, or like the Spurs. Let's just say the Spurs are like, you know what, we are a lot better than what we are. And they put together this package for Jaylen Brown. Like that's what I'm interested in. Is this core of Brown, Tatum, and White going to stay together? And that's yet to be known or seen, but I can't wait to see the answer. If I was given a grade to the Celtics, they would be a B minus. And the reason they would be a B minus is because I don't like the things they got back. But again, I don't think these trades were about getting anything back other than expiring contracts. So on that front, it evens itself out and they get a B minus.
We have some breaking news on the pod that the Knicks just hired Mike Brown.
Yeah.
Do you want to save these thoughts for when we do the Knicks, or do you want to have it? We could do like an emergency.
Yeah, we could just talk about it. Congrats to Mike Brown. This is one of those things that I think, for me at least, over the last few days, has kind of felt like it was going to happen. Interested to see what he's able to do with the offense. I think we have a talented team. I wanted to get somebody that has some sort of experience, and I'm just glad to have this over. So yeah, shout out to Mike Brown. I think he might be a guy that is able to do some things, man. I think he has some interesting philosophies offensively that we was able to see with the Sacramento Kings. And I think if you're going to unlock this Knicks team, it's using that. And they went through the hiring process, very detailed. I believe he had 2 interviews, so he must have really laid out and displayed some things that made the Knicks brass ultimately decide with him. So I'm confident in their decision making. I love some of the offseason moves that we did, which I will save for when we get to the Knicks. But as a Knicks fan, I'm happy with this move. I'm glad it's finally over, and now we can move on and pivot and think about what we're going to do next year.
Staying in New York, the Brooklyn Nets, 5 first-round picks. Definitely got some flack for it. They get Igor Demon 8th, Nolan Traore 19th, Drake Powell 22nd, Ben Serif 26th, Danny Wolf 27th. Obviously, the big one is trading for Michael Porter Jr., getting that 2032 unprotected from Denver. They got the Terrence Mann contract, as I mentioned earlier, and then they brought back Daron Sharp and Zaire Williams. Then the other thing is Cam Thomas. I'm a little confused by the situation, but I think he's a restricted free agent still, so he could be getting a payday, right?
Yes. If you've noticed, not too many restricted free agents have gotten anything. I think the only person is Santi Aldama. Him and the Grizzlies quickly worked out whatever they were going to do, and it's done. But Josh Giddey is still out there. Quentin Grimes is still out there. Thomas is still out there. Kuminga is still out there. So what I'm thinking, using just what I know, is these teams and these GMs are letting these other teams work and use their money. Because now once these teams use their money, they can't create a market for their players. So restricted free agent is playing against the market. If I'm the Bulls and I want Josh Giddey, and there's another team like Brooklyn that has a bunch of cap space, I don't want Brooklyn to entertain my guy, because now if Brooklyn gives him a $30 million offer sheet, I have to match it to retain him. So now if I wait a couple of days and I let all of these teams use all of their money, like for instance, it came out and said Quentin Grimes wanted $25 million a year. And for a second, it was like, man, a team like Brooklyn could take that swing and take that chance. But now after the Michael Porter Jr. trade, Brooklyn is kind of out of it. They can't entertain that idea. So now it puts a lot of these teams in position to not really have anybody to battle with for their guys. Now, that's one part of it. If a guy really does feel like he wants 29 or 30, he can always threaten to take a qualifying offer, bet on himself for the year, and go into free agency next year as an unrestricted free agent. That's a very big bet. And it's sometimes not sometimes, a lot of the times it's risky. And your management and agency isn't really going to suggest that you do that. So that's the thing that I'm thinking of with the restricted free agents like Cam Thomas. If you're the Nets, you don't know what you really want to pay for him. You kind of let the dust settle. You let free agency go by, and then you'll be able to say, okay, let's come to a deal. There's no other place that's out there. Nobody offered you anything. A lot of teams do that. They tell you, we'll pay you that if the market tells us you're worth that. Don't tell me I got to give you $27 million a year and there's no other team giving you that. That doesn't make sense. So I am interested to see what Cam Thomas is going to get. When I said he was going to make $100 million, I was expecting like 25 over 4. Brian Windhorst told me personally that was his reaction. So that made me change. Like, whoa, damn, okay, maybe he's not. So is he going to get 80 over 4, 20 million a year for 4 years. Like I have no idea. Um, Brooklyn though, I said it before. I'll say it again. The 5 picks, I just don't believe in that. Even when I do 2K rebuilds, I never bring on 5 rookies. That's just number one. A lot of roster spots that you're committing to. Number two, it's just no way you're going to develop all of that talent. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Jaeger Demon, I like him. I'm glad that he had a team that was willing to bet on him. And this is, again, to me, a blank canvas. I do think Michael Porter Jr. could fit next to Jaeger. Or not, I don't want to say like Jaeger Demon as LeBron. But I think I kind of like the idea of having a point guard like Jaeger Demon and having shooting like Michael Porter Jr. would not, having an athletic center like Nick Claxton. I just felt like there were some better options with some of those later picks in the 20s or whatnot. I think Danny Wolf can materialize into something. And the guy that I wish they could have kept was Trendon Watford. I'm a big Trendon Watford fan. I think he went to a better situation personally. But yeah, I'm gonna give them a D plus. I like coming into the offseason, there was a lot of hype and a lot of avenues for them to kind of put together I don't want to say significantly, but a much better team and roster. And it don't feel like that. It don't feel like that at all. I guess you get the 2032 pick, which could have some value. But yeah, I mean, what is their starting line going to be? Jaeger Demon, Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr., Nick Claxton. I mean, is Noah Clowney going to start? I don't know. I'm not really sure what they're going to look like. And correct me if I'm wrong, Christian, they don't own their 2026 pick.
They got their own pick, but nobody else's.
They own their 2026 pick?
Yeah, they own their own pick.
Okay. So I guess, was that the trade with the Rockets where they got back their future?
The swap is 2027.
So
Houston has the right to swap its 2027 first for Brooklyn's 2027 first.
Boom. So yeah, they do have their own first round pick. They got it back in a trade with Houston with their 2020. Okay. So that makes more sense.
If Houston's one of the best teams in the league in 2027 and Brooklyn's still ass, then they lose that pick.
So that pick is a swap.
So point is, if Brooklyn's not going to be good next year, but can they be a little bit better the year after that? But like, I don't know if they're tracking for that.
So because of the trade with Houston to get 2026 back, maybe that's why they didn't do a bunch of stuff this year. Because next year's draft is going to be good, even if you don't get the first pick. I mean, to leave with Peterson or Boozer or AJ, or, we talked about Mikael Brown with Jeremy before the show started. There's going to be some things out there, so that's why. That makes a lot of sense. So because of that, I'll give him a C plus. I still feel like there were some things to do, but Jordi Fernandez coached so well last year that they was probably like, man, we got to get him some straight ass. Like, we got to get him some youth and some maybe not so good players, because if we give him anything to work with, he'll overplay and we'll have a little bit too much success when we want to damn sure guarantee ourselves a top 4 pick. So maybe that's the thought process behind it. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like overall they could have played the offseason a little better for future picks. I hate that so much of the value went into 2025 to not be able to move up. If they did all that with those 5 picks and moved up from 8 to 5 and got Ace Bailey or something like that was rumored, would be totally understandable. If they only took 3 of those guys and used some of those other picks for a future pick down the line or something, but to bring on the 5, maybe they'll be the first team to be able to have successful 5 first round picks. We'll see, but I'll give them a C plus.
Next up, Charlotte. Re-signed Trey Mann to a 3-year deal. Pat Connaughton joins in a trade. I don't know if he'll stick around. Colin Sexton comes in from Utah, and then they bring back Plumlee, who changes teams every year. Of course, Charlotte's one of the teams he's already been on. Love what they did in the draft, getting Knipple 4th, McNeely 29th, Sion James 33rd, and Kalkbrenner 34th.
I don't know. Feels like something is changing out there in Charlotte, man. I'll give this an A minus. I really will. First thing I'm gonna start with is the draft. I think not only did they bring in really good basketball players. I felt like they brought in players that have been a lot different than the type of players they brung in over the last X amount of years. And it's nothing against the players that they brought in previously. I just think that in order to have a real good, complete team, you kind of have to change your philosophy once you start to bring in high level talent. So when you get the LaMelos and you get the Brandon Millers, you got to start being able to identify the Conca Nipples and the Ryan Kalkbrenners. You know what I mean? To make an overall well-rounded team, you got to be able to have complementary players. And so I was happy to see them do that for every single pick. They brought in guys that I think are going to be really good as far as skill. And I think they're going to complement the guys that they're quote unquote building around. And I think that's a great step in the right direction. And then Colin Sexton. I thought the Colin Sexton move was really, really, really good. Um, can you go and bring down the details to that? Because all in my mind, they gave up Yusuf Nurkic, who they did not want. And was it a second round pick or something? Was it?
Yep, 2030 second in Nurkic.
Great trade for them. I think Colin Sexton.
Oh, I lied. No, the Hornets got the pick with Sexton. They got the Jazz 2030 second. They just got Nurkic.
Oh, so even better. That was a phenomenal trade for them. And again, for the people at home, I am not a person that's like Twitter people. Like I don't judge everything as far as championship. I think the basis for the Hornets in this step in their rebuild is to just play a certain brand of basketball and be respected and not be a team that you can go in and just beat them. And this team is prepared to have Brandon Miller and LaMelo. This team seems like it's built to also maybe be prepared to not have LaMelo for some games because that used to be the excuse. Hey man, LaMelo got hurt. Okay, well now what are you going to do? Because LaMelo has shown us that he's going to have some injury history. He's kind of injury prone. And so now it's like Colin Sexton is no LaMelo, but I think he can still hold down that starting guard spot while LaMelo misses 10 to 11 games if need be. I think you brought back Trey Mann on a really, really team-friendly deal because he got hurt last year as well. And so, yeah, I think that this is a team that's going to take a step up. And as far as their culture, I think they're going to really have a really solid team. And if you have Brandon Miller and LaMelo on the floor for X amount of games, this is a team that can have a better year versus the last couple of years. So I like what they've been doing. The only thing I didn't like, but I understand it, is the Mark Williams trade. The relationship was torn. Once he got traded and that trade fell through, Mark Williams never wanted to return to the Hornets. Never wanted to return to the Hornets. He's also getting to the point where you would have to extend him and figure out his value and everything like that. So they had to move. But this team is set up to be better. So shout out to the Charlotte Hornets, man. I'll give them. I know I said A-. I'm gonna change it to a B+.
Moving on to the Chicago Bulls. Trey Jones returns on a 3-year deal. Trade Lonzo straight up for Isaac Okoro, and then in the draft, grab Noah Senge at 12, and then Lachlan Olbrich, 55th, who played 1 year at UC Riverside like 3 years ago, and then came from Australia. I had no clue who he was.
I just seen some highlights, but I have no clue either.
Yeah. What do we think about the Bulls?
D-. You get some love for Noah Senge. The Lonzo Ball trade was absolutely trash, in my opinion. No offense to Isaac Okoro. I'm just thinking about the team and what the team needs and what the team has. I don't see the value of Isaac Okoro on this particular team. And you allow so many moves to happen. So if you are or were going to trade Kobe White, like where to? And I'm not saying it's impossible now, but I just feel like when you have so many teams in such a frenzy right after the NBA Finals, during the draft, right at the start of free agency, the Bulls just kind of sat around with their high value guys. I don't know what they're doing. I really don't know what they're doing. And it's even a D- because this is also a year and an offseason where they're extending their decision makers. So they're not going to be a terrible team as long as they retain Josh Giddey, as long as they have, Midas Buzelis. I think Noah Senge is going to be really solid his rookie year. But you have like Ayo, Vucevic, Kobe. I just like I just don't know what they're doing, man. I have no idea. I have no idea what they're doing. They feel like a team that should be in a lot of these moves, but they're not. And then I also, I'm around Bulls fans because I'm in Chicago and whatnot. And Bulls fans have a right. Like when you see a certain teams get involved on certain things, it's like, why don't we do that? When you see a team just like, hey, we'll go in there and we'll help out this trade so we can get like a extra pick. The Bulls are never in it. The Bulls, even in their trade, you gave up Lonzo and there was no picks in that. Just kind of like the Caruso trade all over again. And it's just, I don't know. It makes me scratch my head. They're a mess in these times, and I can only imagine the people who supports them. They're just, it's really kind of mind blowing because the Chicago Bulls, I think, shouldn't be where they are. I think the Bulls could be in a much better place. It just feels like legitimately their decision makers are holding them back. And then they'll do a press conference and they'll pretend that they had the exact offseason that they wanted. And this is all a part of the plan to do something big. And they're just going to come out and be a mediocre team. It is very surreal and crazy to live in the city that has the team that is like the bare minimum boys. Like, let's just do the bare minimum. I can't wrap my head around some of the decisions that they make. Mostly the grade that they got is for getting Noah Senge, and that's me believing that he is, going to materialize into a really good player. But boy, that Lonzo Ball trade was god awful. It was god awful. And again, once you see one or two moves made, it just blows my mind that they weren't involved in other things. Once the Magic got Desmond Bain, I would have been like, yo, Kobe White is fully available. No disrespect to Kobe White, but you're just looking at the logistics of your team and how it's being set up. I would have instantly been like, hey, we're taking calls on Kobe White instantly. But then Kobe White goes. Michael Porter Jr. has been traded. You got the Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Anthony Simons has been traded. Like, there's so many things. I would have just been like, yo, these guys are available. Yo, hey, the Magic made a move. Y'all sure y'all don't want to make a move? Like, the East is going to be wild. I would have been picking up my phone, just like really getting to it. And it doesn't feel like the Bulls did that at all. It does not feel like they did that at all. It feels like they are unaware of anything that's going on around the league. And they mismanage their assets. This has been a conversation with them. And, I don't think we're ever going to see the Bulls be a team like what we saw with the Desmond Bain trade. A lot of people was like, yo, like, man, they got that for Desmond Bain, or the Nets got that for Mikal Bridges. The Bulls would never do that because they're always going to be too late. It's never going to be like, damn, the Bulls got 4 first-round picks for Kobe White. And it ain't because a guy is necessarily worth that, but it's just like if you use the right time and right opportunity and call and contact the right desperate team, there is no market. And the Bulls have some of that talent, but they'll mismanage it. So I give the Bulls a D minus, man. Seriously.
When you said you don't know what they're doing, I don't think they know what they're doing. Like truly, like I don't think there's any team where there's less clear of like a direction. Like there's your teams in the middle that are deciding whether to gamble or not or to wait it out. You've got your teams that are clearly rebuilding. You got your teams clearly competing, and then there's just the Bulls. And like even if Buzelis was a great pick and Asenge could end up being a great pick, like there's still just a lack of direction. I think the teams around the league are like when you talk about why they're not involved in stuff, like even if they really wanted Senge, you got to take that call about Derek Queen. If the Pelicans are like, do you not know that the Pelicans are trying to move up to get Derek Queen, but everyone else does? Like, do they not want to call you? Like, there's also like, you also gave OKC the perfect role player to go win a championship,
and they did,
and they didn't get a first round pick out of it when they had unlimited of them. And like, what does that say to the league, like, of the way you're moving and like, how either teams thinking you're suckers or just being mad and not wanting to trade with you because you did that. Like, they're so frustrating. I think Trey Jones is a good player, but it's like, and that's a nice deal, but like
that can't be the headline of you. Yeah, when I get to Chicago sometimes, that can't be like the backstory. Like, Bulls secure Trey Jones.
Like, Are you tanking or not? Like, are you tanking or not? If you're gonna tank, like, do it better. And yeah, it's nice that you got Giddey from Caruso and he was super productive. But like you said, you missed the Magic got Tyus Jones and drafted Jace and got like you missed the window for Kobe movement. Like I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what you're gonna get for Vooch, but probably not a first. Like it's just a mess. And I just think Bulls fans deserve a little bit of direction because you're floating in like kind of half rebuild, which is like just an awful place to be.
Dog, the Lakers have allowed everybody to sign the centers, and I still haven't heard Vucevic to the Lakers. That's still not a report. Like all of the Hornets had no center to the point where they were like Mason Plumlee slide back, and you didn't hear, man, Bulls are reaching like. And again, maybe they did. Maybe I can't say. I don't know, but it's just odd to me because you see how other organizations move. It's like sharks, and you smell blood in the water, and you go and you attack. You attack, and so I don't. Yeah, I'm with you. I hate seeing what the Bulls are doing because it's just stupid. And the other part about it is these guys are getting extended. It's another, but that's why I told you that I told you a few episodes ago, fandom can be a scam because I think Bull fans should do something to let it be known that this is some bullshit. We're not saying you got to win a championship every year, but to not have a direction and then to also double down on the things because the Bulls and AK, they'll do this shit and they'll have those press conferences trying to tell the fans like, man, this is what we wanted. It's exactly what we plan to do. Trust us, everything is where we want it to be. We feel so great about the offseason we just had. It went perfect. This is that we plan all of that to happen that way. They'll go and they'll do that at the start of the year. And it's like at some point, that's when I say fans have to start stepping up and just being like, man, that's some bullshit. We're gonna make you feel it. And we ain't buying no jerseys this year. Y'all motherfuckers ain't got nobody that we should be buying jerseys of. So we ain't doing it. We ain't buying it. Y'all wanted to, and then the Bulls do shit like they put the Bulls behind a paywall when
to
this
watch the game.
when this is the team that you have out there. No, you do that when you have a playoff team, motherfucker. When it's worth watching. So now a person like me that lives in Chicago, I didn't even go get that antenna. Neither did Derek, and he's an actual Bulls fan because it's like the Bulls ain't on shit. The Bulls are not worth going extra to go watch them on TV. The hell? It's no way I'm supporting that. Ain't no way. There's no way I'm supporting the Bulls of making a move like that when that's the product they put out there. But so yeah, give me a D minus, and that's because I think Noah Singh can materialize into a good player, and even that with their history is a long shot. They're not good at developing, so I don't even know why I'm kind of giving them that, or why we are all like, man, Noah Singh, they don't develop shit. So as much as you like Noah Singh, you're betting on the Bulls to handle his development. I thought Patrick Williams was an incredible prospect coming into the draft. I was not against Patrick Williams being a top 5 pick, but he went to the Bulls.
And one final thought on management and ownership in fandom. Guess who led the league with 825,000 fans in their door this year? And I understand the United Center is the biggest arena, but like,
and I was there. I was at some of those games. I didn't pay my money, but I was there. And it was packed. So
they don't deserve any more of our attention. Moving on to Cleveland, who, as we mentioned, did the Lonzo Isaac Okoro swap. Ty Jerome's out the door. Brought in Larry Nance, and then Sam Merrill gets the 4-year deal. And then in the draft, they had a couple second-round picks, Tyrese Proctor at 49, and then this guy, I don't know who he is, Saliu Niang went 58th. How are we feeling about Cleveland?
They did a hell of a job, man. Got Lonzo Ball, Sam Merrill. I really like the Larry Nance pickup, if I'm just being honest. And again, a lot of people were hard on the Cavaliers because they had an underwhelming finish to the season. But you that's in the rear view. You go back to next year, they have pretty much the same team. They added some things. They lost Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome was saying that they didn't even give him a chance to return. So that was kind of odd. But I really think the Cavs are going to be able to duplicate what they did last year. And I think they're going to take advantage of people not giving them grace for last year. Like, we have this mentality in our sport where, like, if a team doesn't do what they're supposed to do, you just write them off. I don't believe in it. You know what I mean? Like, new year, new team, new vibes, and it takes 1 year for you to figure it out and go to that next step. Like, the Bucks, when they had Giannis, kept knocking on the door, kept knocking on the door, kept knocking on the door. Then they bust through and won a championship. The Nuggets with Jokic kept knocking on the door, kept knocking on the door. They had some underwhelming finishes, then they just boom, won a championship. The Celtics, I remember when the Celtics lost to the Warriors, and people was like, "Man, yeah, see, they this, they that, and the third." Blah, blah, blah. Then they got it together, they figured it out, and then they went and won a championship. So I'm not counting the Cavaliers out. That team has all of the makings from last year, and they very well could have the same type of year this year and have an even better playoff story. So, a full year of Garland and Donovan and, Mobley and Allen with Hunter and Merrill and Struess and Lonzo and Nan. Like, that team is deep. That team is talented. That team has defense. It has offense, guard play, shooting. It checks a lot of the boxes. It's also going to be year 2 with Kenny Atkinson. I'm never a guy that thinks teams are going to win the championship in that first year anyway. So year 2 is always that year where I feel like the coaching imprint kind of settles in. So I'm a big believer that the Cavs can have a lot of success this upcoming year. I'm going to give them an A.
Real quick, I hate when people overreact. Like if Halliburton doesn't hit that shot in game 2, they're and they went on the road and won by 20 in game 3.
They had
In that game
injuries
2,
too. Like,
yeah, they didn't have Garland
yeah.
or Mobley, and they still, if Halliburton doesn't hit that shot and they don't blow that 7-point lead, I think it was in the final minute,
Yep.
like they're up 2-1 in that series against the team that went to games of the NBA Finals. It's year 2 with the coach. They got everyone back. Quick adjustment. Like they're the best team in the East, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Depending on how the Knicks come out with Mike Brown. But yeah, my money would be on one of those 2 teams.
Moving on to Dallas, obviously hit the lottery jackpot, bring in Cooper Flag, bring in D'Angelo Russell on a 2-year deal, and then extended Kyrie Irving.
Phenomenal. I'm not going to spend too much time on them because we've talked about them for the last 8 months with the Luka trade. But they position themselves that when they're fully healthy, they're going to be a team to watch out for out west. I really like the D'Angelo Russell pickup. I think he's a really good bridge point guard for when Kyrie Irving returns. And then when Kyrie does come back, having him come off your bench, his team is going to be deep and it's going to be loaded. And I can't wait to see in the summer for Summer League, Cooper Flag. Jason Kidd said he's going to put the ball in his hands, almost let him be like a point guard. So I'm interested in that. I think that shows even their brains for the development. The only thing I don't like about their offseason is Nico Harrison acting like this was a part of the plan. That's it. Like, now you see the vision. Like, get the fuck out of here. I hate when these basketball guys that are in the professional realm or of the league sit and talk to us like we're stupid. Like, yeah, y'all ain't noticed what I was doing at first. It's like, bro, just take your W and just like go about your business. But I like this team. So when healthy, this is Kyrie, Clay, Flag, AD, Lively. Off the bench, D'Angelo Russell, Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, Max Christie, Najee Marshall.
And don't forget about Brandon Williams, who was cooking at the end of
Brandon
the year.
Williams, Jaden Hardy as well. You're right.
They signed Little Nemhard to a 2-way as well. I had to throw that in there.
This team looked good, man. This team looked good.
Another team with a grade. You gave them their grade, right?
No, I will give them. I'm gonna give them an A.
But Nico, you get
Right.
Nico. Yeah. It's not because of you.
Yeah.
All right. Another team that had a great offseason, Denver Nuggets. No draft pick, brought in Tamar Bates on a 2-way, but bringing in Cam Johnson, the big move. Bruce Brown comes back. Tim Hardaway Jr. on a 1-year deal, and then Valanciunas. They traded SARS for him. How are we feeling about Denver's new regime and those moves?
A+. When you have the best player in the world and you went 7 games with the reigning champs, the defending champs, this is the type of response that you want if you're a fan or if you're in that locker room. Cam Johnson, I think, is an upgrade for MPJ because I think bottom line, he's going to be a little bit more consistent offensively. I think he has a little bit more to his game. And I think defensively, there's just more. He's going to be more consistent offensively. I think I said more consistent defensively. Offensively, he can be relied upon to do a little bit more. And then defensively, he's going to move a lot better than MPJ. But, dog, Tim Hardaway Jr. off the bench for this team, chef's kiss. Jonas Valanciunas off the bench for this team, chef's kiss. And who was the other person? Bruce Brown back on his team, chef's kiss. This team is going to be a force to reckon with, man. This team is going to be so good compared to this past year. And even this year, they went 7 again with the Thunder. But just from the regular season, there was parts where we were kind of talking about the Nuggets. Like, yeah, I remember when I had them on my list for contenders, and people was like, "Yo, you tripping? You tripping? You tripping?" This team is crazy, man. This team is loaded. This might be one of the deepest teams they've had since Jokic has emerged as the best player in the world. So I think they get an extreme A+. This is the type of response you want when you fire your coach and the GM and have everybody in shock. This says, no, we knew what we was doing. And so if my money was on any team to take down the Thunder next year or to be a new champion, it would be the Nuggets, man. It would be the Nuggets. They have, to me, one of the best teams on paper, considering that they have Nikola Jokic.
Quick shout out to Bruce Brown. Got a 2-year, $45 million deal after winning the title.
I'll be back.
He goes, I got my money. I want to go play with Jokic again. So shout out to him.
But he got to play, man, because I feel like he ain't been on the court that much.
Right. Moving on to Detroit. Obviously, the big story is Malik Beasley. That money that probably would have gone to him to return goes to Duncan Robinson on a 3-year deal. Sign and trade. Karis LeVert comes in on a 2-year deal. And then they kept Paul Reed on a 2-year deal. And then in the draft, they get Chaz Lanier, 37th.
C+. I'm disappointed. I wanted more. Coming off the year that they had, I really wanted more from them. And I'm going to give them some grace because I do believe they potentially tried. I'm gonna just give them that benefit of the doubt. I don't know. I have no source close to the Pistons. But boy, I wanted them to take some type of swing. And they lose Schroeder, and we don't know what's going on with Beasley. And to me, that was the 2 priorities this offseason, was to bring back those guys in ways that wasn't going to hurt the team. I understand why they didn't bring back Schroeder, $15 million per. I don't know if that was going to be doable for them. What is Karis LeVert's contract? Did he even get $15 million per?
Karis LeVert got 2 years, 29.
So he got roughly about that. Okay, I guess. Shorter term, I think Schroeder was 3 over 46, 3 over 45. So yeah, I just really wanted them to take a swing. And now with the Malik Beasley thing, if you're not going to bring him back, or maybe it works in their favor because this cloud makes him just, a little bit more cheaper. But next year, their team is what? Cade, Ivy, Asar, Tobias, Duran, Karis, Ron Holland, Duncan Robinson saves them. It saves them. But I still just wish that they did a little bit more. They'll still be all right. They'll still be tough. But man, that Dennis Schroeder punch and that Malik Beasley shooting took them to a different level. It took them to a different level. So to lose that and not get anything super substantial would hurt me. I'm gonna give them a C+, and I'm gonna hope that there's something else that they can do and pivot to that we haven't seen yet to kind of save the offseason. But thus far, I really wanted them to be one of those teams that was ultra aggressive, like super aggressive. I wanted them to go get like Gary Trent and bring back a lot of the guys from the team and just add shit. Or if the Pacers were going to lose Miles Turner, why don't you be the team to go get him? You know what I mean? You was rumored. So, yeah, I just wanted them to take some type of swing. Santi Aldama, you know what I mean? Quentin Grimes. I wanted them to do something. But Quentin Grimes already played for them, so never mind. But, yeah, I'll give them a C+.
Little devil's advocate, is any part of it like they didn't get to see Jaden Ivey in that playoff environment and maybe they think, there's more for him, or is that?
That could be. The only thing with that is, how do they feel about Jaden Ivey? Because I mean, if you're trying to figure out Jaden Ivey after that year and it doesn't go that way, the risk ain't worth the reward to me. You know what I mean? Because I can tell you right now, I don't think Jaden Ivey is going to be an all-star next year. And he could prove me wrong. I think he's good. But is he worth like not having the same team. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The benefit of the doubt that I would give them is Schroeder became a little bit too expensive with that third year, and the Malik Beasley is something they couldn't prepare for, and so their pivot is Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson, which maybe, for all I know, they'll end up being upgrades. Maybe they'll play better, but I like Dennis Schroeder on this team more than Karis LeVert. You know, Karis LeVert is it's a hit or miss. He's going to have 32 points, or he's going to have 9. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's been his thing.
Moving on to Golden State, the Kuminga situation is definitely the thing at top of mind. But Kevon Looney over to New Orleans, and then a couple late second round picks. Will Richard from Florida, and then Alex Tui, I think another Australian. What are we thinking about the Warriors so far with this Kuminga cloud over their head?
One of the toughest teams to grade. You lost Kevon Looney. Don't know how big of a deal that is. You still haven't added size to your team, and you haven't figured out the Jonathan Kuminga thing. The best thing I can say for them is that the Miami Heat were able to let go of Duncan Robinson. So that maybe helps you find a way to give them Kuminga in the side and trade, but maybe I don't know. I think in order for me to grade them realistically, the Jonathan Kuminga situation would have to be figured out. It's hard to grade them without that being handled. And I don't know what that's going to look like for them. I don't know if that's him being in a sign and trade. I don't know if he's just staying and you figure out a long-term deal for him. I have not the slightest clue. All of these reports say that he feels like he can be a little better somewhere else and maybe like do more because he feels like he has more to his game. So I don't know, bro. I have no idea. They're going to get like a what's one of those grades that you
Not applicable.
yeah N/A N/A. I have no idea, man. I have no idea. They haven't done anything.
Yeah. This one will be easier. Houston Rockets obviously trade for Kevin Durant, bring in Dorian Finney-Smith, bring in Clint Capella, 3 and 4 year deals respectively. Then you extend a bunch of guys. Jabari Smith gets a payday, 5 years. Fred VanVleet 2-year extension, and even bringing back guys like Aaron Holiday, Jeff Green, Jayshawn Tate. Did I say Steven Adams? Steven Adams got 3 years as well, and all that's out the door is Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green, and then the pick that became Malawach. So no draft picks for Houston.
A++. This is a team that I also feel like could be a championship contender. It was like, man, they're gonna get Kevin Durant and they're gonna be better. But nah, we got Kevin Durant, we add Dorian Finney-Smith, we bringing back Steven Adams, we getting Clint Capella. Like, they are going crazy. I cannot believe the offseason that they are having. Raphael Stone deserves a lot of flowers, man, because he is legitimately killing it. I am so excited to see this team next year. I think they're going to be super, super good. This is one of my favorite rosters around Kevin Durant that ain't like a star-studded situation, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm happy for them, and I think they are going to be like a legitimate great team. I think they're going to be really, really good. I think this could be like a high 50, low 60 win team. No bullshit. This team is going to be really, really good. And to get Dorian Finney-Smith away from a Western Conference competitor, even better.
Is there room for Cam Whitmore and Reed Shepherd to play more now too? Or, I mean, they still have so much depth.
I think Reed Shepherd, I don't know about Cam Whitmore. I don't know. The Dorian Finney-Smith signing kind of takes some of that away. But you never know.
Next up, the Eastern Conference champion Indiana Pacers. Biggest storyline, Miles Turner, of course, going to Milwaukee. And then in the draft, getting Cam Jones, smooth operator out of Marquette, 38th. And then Talon Peter, who I made that video on, 54th out of Liberty, who I'm intrigued by. And then there was something with Isaiah Jackson qualify. I think he might have been a restricted free agent, and they made the qualifying offer to keep him as well.
Yeah, losing Miles Turner is a big L for them. It just really is, especially when he leaves for essentially, $4 more million annually, I believe it was. Very, very tough situation. But I will say they still get a B because they did that one move, which got them back their own 2026 pick. That saves their offseason. So you won't have Halliburton. You lose Miles Turner. This team could still stay afloat and be somewhat competitive, especially if they end up being a team that DeAndre Ayton decides to go to, because it's rumored that it's going to be between them and the Lakers or something like that. But man, losing Miles Turner hurts. It really does. I'm gonna give them a B because they were able to keep their 2026 pick before all of that stuff happened, which I feel like is a win for them and it was a blessing in disguise. But yeah, that's all. They're a team that hasn't done anything. They got some things that they're going to have to figure out with Jarris Walker, Benedict Mathurin. But I know it's going to be hard to make those decisions without your best player being on the floor to come back and help this team. But man, tough offseason after a championship run. Really, really tough offseason.
The LA Clippers, Brook Lopez in on a 2-year deal, extend James Harden, and Nick Batum returns, and then you got your Penn State pullover on right now. Yannick Conan Niederhauser, one of the biggest riders in the draft. They take him 30th, and then Kobe Sanders 50th in a trade with your Knicks.
Yeah. Hey, the Clippers, man, they found ways. I'm interested to see if they are a team that could figure out a way to make another move, right? With the Norman Powell contract and whatnot. I would really like for this to be a team for Anthony Simons, him in the backcourt with James Harden and whatnot. But I do like the team. I like the depth. Maybe Chris Paul, rumored to want to go to one of these LA teams. Maybe this is a spot for him if they are able to add Chris Paul, or even better. Brook Lopez backing up Zubac is going to be just incredible. I think if they had Zubac and Brook Lopez in this year, they would have probably beaten the Denver Nuggets in that playoff series. So I think this team had a really good year when nobody was expecting it after losing Paul George. And I think they're now positioned to kind of stay afloat or have an even better year. And, rumors were that Kawhi Leonard stayed training through the finals to keep his body in a state that it would be prepared to play that long. So that was also dope to hear. I like this team. I think they're still one move away, but I think they still have the necessary tools to go and make that move with the contracts of Bogdanovich and Norman Powell. So
where are we going next? To the Lakers. Adu Thiero, 36th in the draft. Jake LaRavia on the 2-year deal. DFS heads to Houston, of course, and then just waiting on the big man situation. Is it Ayton? Are they just not doing anything? Is there anything going on with LeBron? What do we think about the Lakers?
F, 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 F. Here's why. Number one, you lost Dorian Finney-Smith, who is a best friend to Luka Doncic. But the reason why you lost him is because you were going around trying to tell teams that his knee was bad in order to lowball him. He finds out about it and is saying, I'm damn sure not coming back, and then goes to another Western Conference competitor. And he was pivotal for what they were trying to do defensively in JJ Redick's scheme. He was one of those guys that can guard up and down the lineup and run around and cover a lot of ground for Luka Doncic. He's going to be big to lose, man, because now the other guy that can do that is Vanderbilt, but he doesn't give you the spacing and the shooting that Doe is sometimes giving you. He's a much better shooter spotting up than a Jared Vanderbilt or whatnot. So I think that's tough for the Lakers. And then, they don't have the center situation. Clint Capella didn't go. Brook Lopez didn't go. Even if you get DeAndre Ayton, he's an upgrade, but I'm not sure if his play style and who DeAndre Ayton has shown me who he is as an NBA player, I don't know if that's the type of center I want with Luka Doncic. I think I want the Daniel Gaffords, the Derek Lively's, the Clint Capellas, the guys who are screening, rolling, running the floor, and blocking shots. DeAndre Ayton has shown us he likes mid-range jumpers. He likes to touch the ball and face up and hold the. That's not really the fit you want with Luka. I think the Luka guys are guys that can't do post moves and ain't got that in the game, so he can just hold the ball. So I don't know if I like that marriage of DeAndre Ayton with Luka. I can't ignore the fact that he is talent for talent, an upgrade over Jackson Hayes. And then also defensively, JJ Redick wants this defense. DeAndre Ayton, I don't know if that's what you're going to get from him in that situation. So I am hoping for the Lakers' sake that DeAndre Ayton goes to the Pacers and the Lakers somehow have to pivot to getting like a Robert Williams. But then even that situation, Robert Williams hasn't shown us that he can play a substantial amount of basketball games each year. So I don't know what the Lakers are going to do. And now all of this has turned into like LeBron and Clutch having to sit down and wonder about his future, rightfully so. Rightfully so. But that changes the entire dynamic. And I will say this too, Christian, not to do the I told you so, because LeBron hasn't requested a trade and he hasn't been traded, and it's all speculation right now, and they're all just kind of viewing how everything is going to go this offseason. But when the LeBron trade happened, Pee Wee the Plug was saying, hey, this move to me is going to make the Lakers shift to the Luka Doncic future Lakers and less about the current LeBron Lakers. And I don't know how LeBron is going to feel about that. You can find me saying that on my YouTube channel, maybe on Numbers on the Board, and probably on here. Just putting that out there. This to me was always kind of written on a wall, unless the Lakers are going to have one of the best off seasons, which all of us knew was going to be pretty damn hard with the assets they had. And I don't think anybody in the NBA was going to do them any favors after seeing them get Luka Doncic. You talked about the Bulls and how they gave Caruso away to the Thunder, and now the other teams around the league are probably like, man, we ain't helping y'all there. Like, forget y'all. I think teams are also going to look at the Lakers that way, though the Lakers aren't the ones that gave up Luka. But people are going to be like, man, y'all was gifter after Luka. We ain't helping this damn team. We're not going to do a trade with you to absorb Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber to give you a little bit more of a budget to work with to go sign a Gary Trent and build out this crazy team around LeBron and Luka. We ain't doing y'all no damn favors. Not at all. And so now they got to sit up here and tell everybody, yeah. We're doing 2-year deals because we're planning for 2027. And now you got Rich Paul and LeBron like, you planning for what? 2027? 2027? Oh, hell no. We respect y'all. We love y'all, but fuck no. 2027, LeBron James is going to be an owner of the Las Vegas basketball team. He ain't going to be playing on the bat. So that's why the Lakers are ultimately an F for me. Tough situation, man. And Austin Reeves turned down his contract extension because he can probably get more. So, yeah. So even if LeBron leaves and goes, Austin Reeves is showing you he won't top-notch bread. Luka Doncic is going to come in top-notch bread. So you're always going to run into these situations of like maybe not having as much wiggle room. And now you're going to probably go into what the Mavericks have to deal with, which is building around Luka, getting all of these pieces, but staying in an affordable range because now the second apron is such a thing. The old Laker way was to just spend. We'll just spend. We'll put Kobe, Shaq, Gary Payton, Karl Malone all on one team. And we'll hire Phil Jackson to coach him. This NBA is a little different. So I can't wait to see what this all turns out to, because I can't imagine LeBron in year 23 being traded. But it's interesting, man. It's interesting.
Moving on to Memphis, obviously the Desmond Bane trade. Luke Kennard out in free agency. You retain Santi Aldama, gets paid 3 years, $58 million. Jaren Jackson gets a 5-year extension. Cam Spencer back, and then Ty Jerome 3-year deal. KCP in the Bane trade, and then Cole Anthony as well, who they're buying out. Real quick, I saw a headline that said like veteran guard Cole Anthony waived. I'm like, is he a vet already? Like
He is.
He's 25, but like, damn.
Because he's been in the league probably, what, 6 years now?
I guess. That's just crazy.
It is crazy, but yeah, I mean, he kind of is a vet. Yeah, like he's probably one of the older guards in Orlando. Corey Joseph was older, but it was, yeah, that is wild though. I agree with you. He's definitely not a young player no more. 6 years in the NBA. Good offseason. So I'm gonna give them a B+. This is what I would say about the Memphis Grizzlies. What are their goals? That's what I'm really trying to figure out, because I feel like this team is another solid Memphis team, but I don't feel like it's a team that could win the West. I still feel like they're a move or so away. Who that is, who it's going to be, I don't know. Jaren Jackson signs the extension, immediately has the turf toe surgery, which he's going to be out now 4 to 5 months. I have never liked that for Memphis. It feels like that's been the case for them the last 3 or so years, or two years. Maybe I'm adding an extra year. But they don't come into the year fully healthy. They get behind the 8-ball, and they show us certain flashes of like being this really good team. And then we get to the playoffs, and they just are okay. And if that's all they want to be, then that's fine. But again, with the second apron, and because you traded Bane, you got to be damn sure that you're committed to Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson. You got to be damn sure. I do like the Cedric Howard draft pick. I do like the Ty Jerome signing. I do like bringing back Santi Aldama. It's just weird. They're a good team, but they are still under the great teams, even on paper. Ja, KCP, Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson, Zach Edey. How far does that team go to you? I'm asking you.
I mean, what is Ja's availability is always the biggest question, but I mean, the West is just loaded. I don't think they're a top 5 team even in their top outcome.
So that's my whole thing. Like from an on paper standpoint, they did a really good job of retaining talent. You lose Desmond Bain, but you keep Santi. It would have hurt to trade Desmond Bain and then to also still lose Santi Aldama would have been a big blow for them. But to be able to escape losing Santi Aldama, to get Cedric Howard, you still have Jalen Wells. It's really good. It just feels like they still like are missing that wing. It feels like John Jaren need a star wing. Like if they somehow was able to get Jaylen Brown, it feels like damn, this team is it. But it feels like they're always going to be missing that, unless Cedric Howard is about to turn into Kawhi or Jaylen Brown, and then that would be different. So we'll see because they're deep. They still have G.G. Jackson, Vince Williams Jr., Scottie Pippen. It's Ty Jerome, Brandon Clark will be back healthy. Jay Huff is on this team. They're still a deep team. They just neither need Ja to get back to that MVP status or Jaren Jackson to take another step. Because if not, this team is always going to be feeling like they're missing something.
I forgot to do the draft when I was mentioning their transactions. As you said, Cedric, they move up from 16 to 11 to get him, and then Javon Small, 48, and then Jemai Meshack, defensive menace. Well, I'm surprised to see get drafted, honestly, because he can't do anything else. But
that's a grit and grind type of guy. Javon Small is a Grizzlies type of guy too. He just kind of fits perfect there.
Miami Heat. Jack Ashonis falls to 20. They bring him in. I'm not saying all the two ways, but I think Vlad Golden is worth noting as a two-way. They also brought in like Dane Danger and Omar Ballo, so they're definitely looking for
the big,
a big for sure. And then they got Fontenecchio in the sign and trade.
Fontenecchio. I've never heard it pronounced that way.
Wait, is it Fontecchio?
Fontecchio, yeah.
Fontecchio. And then Davion Mitchell on a cheap tier deal stays.
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. This is a C minus. Like they were so attached to getting everything and everybody. Nothing ever happened. They did get Kevin Durant. The Giannis ain't available as of right now, and even if he was, don't see how the hell he would get there. Didn't trade Andrew Wiggins. Don't know if you're going to get Jonathan Kuminga. They just haven't really done anything. This is the same team we keep seeing come back and forth, back and forth. They really should have a D minus because they were rumored to be in the KD sweepstakes and being one of those final teams, but they were reluctant to give up Jaime Jaquez and Nikola Jovic and shit like that, Kaleo Air. So they get a D minus actually because you had a chance to get Kevin Durant and you wanted to be greedy with things that I don't even feel like is doing much for you as of right now. So yeah, man. Miami Heat, interesting to say the least. But I'm gonna get them a D minus. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know, man. I have no word. D minus. And you would think that East being wide open, this is the type of team that you would feel like would have done what the Hawks was doing. They would have just jumped on it and been like, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. They ain't been able to do shit. And their best bet is that Tyler Hero is going to have the same type of year. Bam Adebayo is going to put a full, complete year together. Khalil Ware takes a step as a sophomore starting center. And then the others are just good. Like Wiggins is good. But yeah, they ain't done nothing. Or your best bet is that Damian Lillard signs with you while he rehabs. And there you go. You get a blessing out of disguise. You get Damian Lillard. And when he is back ready to play, you now have something. But if Damian Lillard don't go there and he go to some shit like the Warriors, Miami gonna be looking crazy, man. I don't know what the fuck they doing. They like a better version of the Bulls as of right now. The only thing I can give them is they always figure it out and they never god awful. And they not that long ago they were in the NBA Finals. That's about as best as I can give them. But like as of right now, Heat fans are going through it, man.
Speaking of Damian Lillard, waived by the Milwaukee Bucks, who also lose a couple of championship pieces in Pat Connaughton and Brook Lopez. The Miles Turner move with the money created from Dame. They brought in Gary Harris on a 2-year deal and then re-signed Gary Trent on a pretty cheap deal. Jericho Sims stays. Torian Prince stays. Bobby Portis extended, and Kevin Porter Jr. returns. And then in the draft, they got Bogol Markovic, 47.
He can shoot.
And signed my boy Mark Sears on a two-way.
D-.
And Ryan Rollins is out too. Ryan Rollins is out, isn't
he?
That wasn't on my side.
He is not. He might be coming back, but he's not with them. C-. The reason I'm giving them a C- is because I don't think it hurts to bring back guys, and because you have the luxury of having Giannis. So this roster is not that good, but because you can add Giannis to this picture, this is still a team that in the Eastern Conference, Giannis could make this team be a 4th seed. Giannis is that good. Him and Miles Turner is the back line of the defense. You got a guy like Gary Trent that can spot up. AJ Green can spot up, knock down shots. If they're able to bring in some point guard, that I would have loved Tyus Jones for them. I'm so surprised that Tyus Jones is not the point guard of this team. It just feels like that would have been the route to go. But if they're finding a way to bring in a Malcolm Brogdon, if they found out a way to convince Chris Paul to not go to LA and come to Milwaukee, even though he said he wants to go around his family, then I think that helps them. The one thing that I'm giving them the credit for is you have to please Giannis. Anything you have to do to keep Giannis around, you do it. I don't really like the Miles Turner move. Outside of that, I like it to keep Giannis happy. I don't like it because you're paying Miles Turner essentially $50 million because you stretch Dame's contract. So the 26 that you're giving Miles and now the 22 that you're going to have to pay every single year over the next 5 years from letting Dame go is basically combines. Now it's basically a $48 million cap penalty that you're paying because you wanted to get Miles Turner. Any other situation, that is the stupidest shit I've ever heard because Miles Turner doesn't take you to crazy levels. But because you're trying to please Giannis, if this move is the move that makes Giannis say, I'm going to just stay, then I guess this is a fucking A+. It's a home run out the park. But if Giannis is still like, you know what, this shit, it ain't for me, this is a move that you're going to look back on and be like, holy shit. But I think we have to go through free agency to really grade them. Because again, if they're able to get Brogdon and CP3 and there's able to be a couple of other moves, then I think this team is still a team that Giannis can drag through. And I'm interested to see year 2 of some of these players. Like, I can't wait to see Giannis and Miles Turner. I think that's a really good fit. Like, I think that's really, really good for them. But, like, what version of Kyle Kuzma are we getting? And you don't even need Kyle Kuzma to be the best version of himself. He just has to be better than what he gave you last year. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I'm gonna give them a C- for now, just because again, it's about pleasing Giannis, and I guess this is a good step in that direction. But the minute Giannis says he ain't with this goes down to an F.
Minnesota, 5 years, 125 for Naz Reid, 3 years, 100 for Julius Randle, and then losing Alexander Walker in the draft. You got a couple potential long-term Rudy replacements in Joan Behringer at 17, and then Rocco Zakarski, another big at 45.
C+. Still don't know how I feel about the Julius Randle contract. Maybe you can trade it down the line. Maybe that's the thought process. Obviously, I hate losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And I would have liked to see them maybe go in a different direction with the big fella and with the pick. 2 centers, kind of overkill. But then again, you drafted Rob Dillingham last year. I don't know. The benefit of the doubt that I'm giving them is that you're going to have the main suspects next year. You're going to have Ant, J-Mac, Nas, Rudy, Randall, Conley, Dante is back. This team can still be good. So I'll give them, I'll give them a C+. I'll give them a C+. I think they bring back the same team. It's going to be good. Wasn't really many avenues they could have had to really improve that much. It was more about making sure you don't lose Nickeil and Nas. They didn't even allow Nas Reid to get into the market like that. It was rumored that the Pistons were going to really go after Nas. They didn't even allow it. So because of that, I'll give them a C+. But there's also the world where being the same team isn't good when everybody else is improving, because the West is going to be even tougher now with the Rockets and the Nuggets taking these major steps. So,
And you didn't say Terrence Shannon in the rotation. I liked what I saw from him in
yes,
the play.
you're right. You're right. Terrence Shannon. You're right. Maybe it's a B- now. You're right.
The New Orleans Pelicans trading McCollum and Kelly Olynyk, getting Jordan Poole and Sadiq Bey, signing Kevon Looney to that 2-year deal, and then in the draft get Jeremiah Fears at 7. Make the risky move that Joe Dumars has gotten a lot of flag for, going to get Derek Queen at 13, and then Micah Peavy in the second round, 40th.
D plus. D plus, because that pick, and I like Derek Queen, but that pick, it's just not smart. It's not smart. Just again, managing your assets. Unless you believe Derek Queen is the guy to save the franchise, there's no way you can convince yourself on that. Because if you believed he was that guy, you would have probably taken him in a spot where you took Jeremiah Fears. And I don't even like this spot for Jeremiah Fears. It's not the talent, it's where they're going. Because this team has Jordan Poole and Fears and, Alvarado, DeJounte Murray, and I don't know. Again, I always say this is a team that has a bunch, but at the same time, you look and it's like, damn, they don't really have nothing either. Is Jordan Poole making this team a playoff team? Jordan Poole, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Zion, Ease, Missy. It's all up to Zion, man. It's all up to Zion. Maybe there's a plan beneath all of this, which is to allow Zion to play up his value and then make him available. But they must really think this is a playoff team. I don't think so. I think there's a chance, right? Everybody has a chance, but I wouldn't be surprised if this team didn't make the playoffs. But we're going to see. I would have liked to seen them have shedded some more money. They took on the money. CJ was heading to the last year. They said, no. Let's bring on Poole, who has a couple more years attached to his contract. So, yeah, man, not a fan so far, but prove me wrong.
You think Trey Murphy trade is on the table?
I would hope so. Just looking around the landscape, and fans, this is one thing fans don't understand, because I talk about this a bunch. Fans have attachments. I think Trey Murphy is a good player. I do not think Trey Murphy is the face of the franchise. That's just me personally. But I think he can complement a really good star player. Like if he was on the Pacers, I think he would complement Tyrese Halliburton to a T. Looking at how much teams are trying to do and what teams are looking after, I would have made him available the minute Desmond Bane got traded. Because I like the Spurs would probably give you a lot for Trey Murphy. He doesn't take the ball out of De'Aaron Fox's hand. He doesn't take the ball out of Vic's hands. He can complement them. He can play off of them. He has the positional size. He can explode for 30 to 40-point performances. I think Trey Murphy is really, 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 really good. And I think you can get a really good return where teams will overpay for Trey Murphy. But so it's like, why are y'all holding on to him?
Moving on to your New York Knicks, Yabusele, a.k.a. D Mills, on a 2-year, $12 million deal. And then Jordan Clarkson, I don't think the money's announced yet, but once he clears waivers, he's going to slide on over. And then nothing in the Mo Diawara, 51st in the draft. And then obviously Mike Brown today.
Not going to spend too much time. I think these are great additions. I think we got our head coach. I love it. We're going to be a team that was going to bring back the big main portion of our team. I love spicing up and strengthening that bench. Yabusele, I think, is a really, really incredible pickup for us. Love the Jordan Clarkson pickup as well. And I'm interested to see if we'll have one more move in us or if we're done. So I love it. This is I'll say a B+ for the Knicks, man. It's a B+. We got to see how the coaching hiring happens before I can say A. But I'll give like a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals, adding Yabusele and Clarkson, B+. Haven't seen Clarkson play in a while, so I don't know if we're about to get the Clarkson that I know, or if it's going to be a maybe not so electrifying Clarkson. But I think he's going to have some big performances in the Garden.
Real quick on Clarkson, I was thinking the same thing, that he's been playing some garbage basketball. The one thing that I'm thinking about with him is, like, I feel like something the Knicks needed in the playoffs was more from Deuce McBride. He didn't score more than 11 points in any of those playoff games. And Jordan Clarkson just gives them some real legit scoring pop-off.
Especially with Mike Brown being a coach now.
OKC champions. SGA gets a 4-year extension. Jalen Williams, JAY Williams, on a 3-year, $24 million deal, and then AJ Mitchell. Then they gave away Dylan Jones away for free to the Wizards, which I'm still kind of wrapping my head around. Like, how come the Wizards got him if all you were going to do was give a second-round pick and then get Colby Jones and waive him? Maybe they're friends. And then the draft, you bring in Thomas Sorber at 15, and then local friend Brooks Barnheiser from Northwestern, 44th.
A+. Not surprising there. They drafted well. They extended their guys. They didn't lose anybody significant. A+. That's what you want from a championship team if you're a part of the team or you're a fan of it. We won a championship. Let's do it again. Let's bring back the same team. I love it. Didn't overthink anything. Didn't try to get too sexy. We're going to believe in that the fact that we have young talent. They're all going to take steps to get better, even if it isn't drastic. And we also have Nikola Topic coming back. We're going to see what we have here. I love it. Simple offseason.
Do you understand the Dylan Jones thing?
They don't have room for him. They literally don't. You brought in 2 rookies.
Right, but why does Washington get him? Like, how did they pick their suitor if all they were going to get in return was a Colby Jones that they were going to waive?
Because that's probably what they wanted, was a player they were going to waive.
But couldn't the Bulls could have done that too, right?
Somebody had to get him. If the Bulls got him, you could say the same thing. Why didn't Washington get him? But he can only go to one team. So it's like maybe Washington did something with them. They did the did they do a trade before them in Washington?
I'm not sure.
Maybe they have a good working relationship. Maybe Washington is a team that really. How many teams really wanted Dylan Jones? Did the Bulls really want him?
I mean, I'm pretty sure the Thunder gave 5 second-round picks to the Knicks to trade up to get Dylan Jones like last year. It's just a wild thing to see that any other team that would be malpractice, but because OKC is just so elite, front office wise, they can afford to do this. It's not that big a deal. It was just wild for me to compute that they just gave away a guy that took 26th overall for free.
Yeah, I mean, they probably didn't know that they were also going to get AJ Mitchell, and so. And then also you got to remember it's the Thunder. So they also traded those picks because again, they can't bring them all anyway. So it's like fuck it. Like maybe Dylan Jones could be something, and he showed some flashes, but now they like shit. We loaded. So here you go, Washington.
Yeah. Hey, maybe they like Dylan and they wanted to get him to a location they thought worked for him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true too. Yeah.
Orlando, obviously the Bane trade is the big one. They brought in Tyus Jones on a 1-year deal. Gary Harris, KCP, Cole Anthony out the door. And then in the draft, everyone kind of predicted this one, Jace Richardson at 25. And then they got Noah Penda, second pick of the second round from France.
I think it's an A-, man. They executed. I can't wait to see the rest of it. Like, is Mo Wagner coming back on a different type of deal or whatnot? But I think talking about taking a swing for it, going for it, Desmond Bane puts a lot of pressure on everybody on this roster to perform up to the expectation. There's really no more excuses now. This team has to be healthy. They have to be ready to perform. And if they don't, I would not be surprised if Orlando comes back next year willing and able to give up some of the guys that we look at as core pieces. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to keep making excuses for Franz. Jalen Suggs is going to have to be healthy and be able to play. Paolo Banchero is obviously their guy, but adding Desmond Bane brings pressure. This team now is going to have expectations. They had it last year, and now you go out and make a move like this, they're going to be looked at as a team that has to, in a down year for the Eastern Conference, perform to a higher level in the regular season and in the playoffs. I don't make these rules. This is just the reality, because I know Magic fans may hear this and be like, oh, man, this is the reality. When you go out and you make major moves and you spend 4 or 5 first-round picks, you're telling your organization and you're telling the fans and you're telling the rest of the NBA that we believe in what we have to compete for the highest level of success. Doesn't mean you have to have the highest level of success, but you're willing to compete for it and be somewhere close in the conversation. You do not spend 4 or 5 first-round picks to just be okay. That's just the reality of the NBA.
Real quick, Paolo Banchero, could he be the second best player in the East next year? Could he be first team All NBA?
Could he? Yeah, he could. Will he? I wouldn't think so. Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brown is still out there. Um, you know, the, Evan Mobley is still a guy from the advanced stats perspective. Trey Young with a team that he has, it's gonna be some guys. But I get where you're coming from. And can he? Yeah, he definitely can. Is Embiid going to be healthy? Tyrese Maxey, Paul George. You just don't know what to expect with the fucking 76ers. Giannis Antetokounmpo. You know what I mean? So
Speaking of Philly, only out the door is Yabusele. They bring in Trendon Watford, who you mentioned earlier, on a 2-year deal. Justin Edwards, undrafted last year, he gets a 3-year deal. Eric Gordon back on a 1-year deal, and then obviously get VJ Edgecombe third overall, and then Janai Broom at the top of the second round.
this is another NA. The reason why they're NA is because I don't know anything. I don't know if when we're expecting Joel Embiid to play. That changes everything to me. If Joel Embiid is going to be ready to go relatively in the first part of this season, then I think this is an incredible offseason. I think um, you kept Kelly Oubre. You brought back Eric Gordon. Trendon Watford is a signing that I absolutely love. Only you know that, and maybe some part of Twitter. I love Trendon Watford. I think this is an incredible pickup. I think this is one that's going to just go on beneath everything. And when the season starts, or when we get to the playoffs, it's going to be like, damn, that Trendon Watford guy can play. I bet a lot. Do you know who his brother is?
The dude who hit the Indiana shot?
That's his brother.
Christian Watford?
That's his brother.
I didn't. That didn't compute until you said it, and I thought Watford, and then that name came to mind.
That's his older brother. But Quentin Grimes, bringing him back is going to be substantial too. So I love the way that they went out. They got VJ Edgecombe, McCain is going to be back, Quentin Grimes, Trendon Watford, Maxey Paul George, Joel Embiid. I think Drummond exercised his option to return to be the backup center. This team is going to be good as long as they're healthy. But if they're not going to be healthy, and it starts with Embiid, and then before you know it, Paul George, I feel as a Paul George fan, this is no offense, but I feel like Paul George, because he's like a co-star, he feeds off of his co-star. So when Kawhi was kind of banged up, Paul George was kind of banged up, besides that one playoff run. You know what I mean? When Embiid was kind of banged up last year, Paul George was kind of struggling to stay. I feel like when everything is set in stone, they're going to rock out. But it's hard for me to just picture Paul George carrying his team next year with no Embiid. I do think Paul George is going to have a bounce back year, though. I really do. But I think it's going to mean a lot more if Embiid is there. And they got to consider that, too. Do you even want Paul George to, play crazy if it's no Embiid, knowing his age? Paul George needs to be playing meaningful basketball. So Embiid, it starts and ends with him like it always has. But this team, to me, on paper, they look good. I like this team if he's going to be healthy.
So Grimes, you expect them to match? Do you have an idea of at what point they wouldn't match, or is there really not many teams? I think Brooklyn has space.
I don't think there's no teams that can give him $25 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's going to look like. Even Houston giving the money to Dorian Finney-Smith. Even if he feels disrespected, it's like, fuck this, I'm going to just go somewhere. Even if I can't get $25 million, I don't even know if that's still out there. Maybe there's always the sign and trade, right? There's always that. So, but I do expect him to be back. I do.
Moving on to Phoenix, pretty active offseason. KD trade, Tyus Jones gone. They waived Cody Martin, Plumlee, whatever, Misic. And you bring in Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green in that trade. The Mark Williams trade, of course. And then Nigel Hayes from Wisconsin, a name I wasn't expecting to see Shams tweet out. And then the draft, you got Malawach at 10 and Rasheer Fleming at 31. And Gillespie. They re-signed our boy Colin Gillespie.
B. It's a B. It's a B because you got a lot for the Kevin Durant trade. I think Dylan Brooks was a good get. I think Jalen Green is a good player. I think Jalen Green gets abused in the media and social media because Jalen Green isn't one of the best shooting guards. But that's okay. You know what I mean? He's still 23. He has some things he has to figure out. And I think he was put in a situation in Houston that was too large for who he is as a player. So I think the next step for Jalen Green, especially in this opportunity with the Suns, is to figure out how to be impactful in a co-star role, right? Because that's his future. Houston was about trying to see if he could be one of those guys. And it turns out that's too much of a responsibility for him. We saw that in the playoffs, too up or down. Now it's about finding some consistency in this type of role. And I think that this could be a blessing in disguise for him and his career. I'm not here to say that him and Devin Booker are going to take over the West, but just him and his career and playing good basketball. Playing next to Devin Booker I think is going to be really good because he that's his future. He's never going to be in a situation, I think, going forward where he has his own team and he's one of the top options and the ball is going to kind of go through him. It was really unique in Houston with Sengun because Sengun is optimally a big, right? Like that's just what he is. So he's not going to really command the ball too much. But Devin Booker is going to command the basketball. Devin Booker is going to have the basketball a lot. And now Jalen Green has to kind of figure that out. So I think that's a good bet on him. The contract also isn't like 4 or 5 years. It's shorter. Maluach ended up falling to you at 10. I think there's no better scenario for Phoenix than him falling there at 10. We saw Rich Paul getting on that phone, making sure that was going to happen. And then I also love that you brought in Rasheer Fleming. I was a big Rasheer Fleming guy. You brought back Gillespie. We're going to see what happens with Nick Richards. I wouldn't have been mad if they brought in a Trendon Watford. And then who else did they draft? Did they draft one more guy that I'm not remembering?
I thought it was just Malawash and Fleming. I don't think there was.
So yeah, I like what they got going on there. Mark Williams. I'm sorry, Mark Williams.
Oh yeah,
Mark Williams is the center, which I love. Kamal Maluach, kind of like what you saw with Donovan Clingan last year. You can't bring these big, tall centers in and try to throw them into playing 30 minutes a game as rookies. So Mark Williams being able to be the guy that can play 24, 25 minutes, and Maluach in his rookie year plays an additional 23 or 24 minutes or whatever he's ready for. Maybe it gradually goes up. But, it's a good situation. Good two bigs to have. I like it, man. I really like it for them. I think that's what you have to have. Now you're about to sign Devin Booker to a 2-year extension for $75 million per year annually for $150 million. And now it's about keeping a competent team around him, making sure he ain't on a team that's winning 17 games. So I think they made the most of their situation. And if they find a way to maneuver with this Bradley Beal shit, that's going to really just take this grade up to another level, in my opinion.
2 years, 150 is insane.
Yes. Super crazy.
Moving on to Portland. Simon's an 8 and out. Blazers legend Drew Holiday returns to the program. And then they got the big tariff, Hanson Yang at 16, which turned some heads in the draft.
I'm jumping on board with Yang, man. Them buying out DeAndre Ayton to make sure that this dude is going to have minutes to be able to play. It tells me something. They know something that we don't know, and then Mike Schmitz is a part of that. So, I have the utmost respect for him and his basketball eye. The Anthony Simons trade, interesting. Don't know how I feel about Drew Holiday yet. I understand the value and what he could bring defensively and, just being a really good vet for them. But the price that he costs while already having Jeremy Grant and, that situation, it's interesting. But I do like this team. It's something about this team that I like. They ended the year strong. I'm a big fan of Donovan Clingan, big fan of Shaden Sharp, big fan of Tamani Kamara, big fan of Denny. And now you have Drew Holiday with all of that, and it's still going to be a good mentor for a Scoot Henderson. So, and they still have Jeremy Grant. It's kind of crazy. Jeremy Grant, I felt like when he first went there, was going to be a guy that would be sought after. Now it's kind of like he's just chilling out there in Portland. So,
did you give him a grade?
B-.
Sacramento. Laravia out, Valanciunas out. Dario Saric joins in that trade, and then they paid Schroeder, 3-year, $45 million, and then in the draft, a couple old guys I like, Nick Clifford at 24 and Maxime Renaud at 42.
Love what they did in the draft. Love that. I think that gives them a B+. Don't know how I feel about the Dennis Schroeder contract. Because Dennis Schroeder is a good guard, but like, is he like legitimately? Are you doing anything crazy with him as a starting guard? I just don't know. They're kind of like the Western Conference Bulls. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know exactly what they're trying to accomplish here. Would have loved to see them figure out a trade for one of these guys, like a DeRozan or a Levine or a Sabonis. They're going to bring back that collective. What is Keegan Murray worth? What is that contract going to look like? Um, Malik Monk was supposed to be in some type of sign and trade. I heard he still could be. So we'll see about that. Yeah, I like what they did in the draft saved them. What they did in the draft saved them. The Valanciunas trade, I think Dario Saric is on a expiring, so you give away the extra year Valanciunas to bring back him and be able to have that expiring deal. Yeah, I'll give them. I'm gonna give them a B plus because I love what they did in the draft. And Dennis Schroeder isn't god awful. He's not god awful. I like Dennis Schroeder. And maybe they maybe all they want to do is be in the playoffs. Maybe they want to continue to be a playing team. I think this is going to do that. I think this does that. If you're going to be paying Sabonis, Levine, DeRozan, you might as well win a few games. So Schroeder's going to help you in there.
Schroeder will be a bridge for Devin Carter potentially too.
Don't think so. They made Devin Carter available for trade. I don't think they look at Devin Carter as a point guard. And I'm not sure I do. Maybe a Bruce Brown type of guy, smaller, but I don't like how they handle Keon Johnson either. I mean, Keon Ellis either. I think they gave him the qualifying offer, which will make him an unrestricted free agent next year, which I didn't like. I feel like he should be, even if you don't have him a part of your future, his value around the NBA. Am I right? Is that what they did?
Yeah, they picked up his team option.
I would have tried to figure out an extended contract where, if you look at Trey Mann, and who else got and Jalen Williams, those type of deals was 3-year 24. You're paying only 8 annually. I would have tried to see if I could do that with Keon Ellis. You know what I mean? Here's 3 years, 27. You know what I'm saying? 9 per year or something. People like Keon Ellis around NBA. They really do. And even again, if you don't feel like he's a part of your future, you retain him at a friendly salary and you just make him available. But it's almost like you don't even know who you have on your team.
But they still have the opportunity to extend him if they want to. I just think people were surprised that they didn't do it now.
Okay. I was surprised. I thought he took the qualifying. He picked up a team option because it's a second-round pick. Okay. So hopefully that's the case.
Right. They can't let him go.
No.
Like they're lacking young. Levine, Monk, DeRozan, there's got to be more movement, right? Or like...
Yeah, maybe like the Heat don't do anything, and you're like, hey, we got DeRozan, and the Heat, and you take back like Rozier on his expiring or something like that. That would help the Kings. Something like that would really help the Kings. I don't know though. I really don't know.
San Antonio crushed the draft, getting Harper at 2 and Carter Bryant at 14, and then Luke Cornett gets a payday, 4 years, $41 million, and the only guy out is Mamu Mikashvili, who signed with Toronto, who we'll get to next.
Flawless offseason. I love what they did in the draft. They were the winners of the draft, getting Dylan Harper and then Carter Bryant at 14th is fucking ridiculous. And then to get Luke Cornett. Like, Luke Cornett can play with Vic, back up Vic. If Vic misses a game or two, they have a really good team. I'm really, really excited about the direction. Again, not here to say that they're going to win the NBA championship next year, but I think there's value and rebuilding appropriately step by step by step by step. There's this theory that they say, don't put too much on yourself to improve, right? Like dramatically overnight. Just get it 1% better every day. And that'll add up to something substantial over a grace period. I think the Spurs are an example of that. Like, they're just out here getting better and better and better. Is it going to be an overnight success where we wake up and now the Spurs are dominating the Western Conference? No, that's how a lot of NBA organizations want it to be, though. NBA organizations have no patience. They just want to go from 29 wins to being in the conference finals. There's foundational pieces being laid here, and I love it for them. I love it. A+.
Toronto pays Jakob Poeltl a bag, 4 years, $104 million. As I just said, they brought in Sandro from the Spurs on a 2-year.
Spencer Dinwiddie just signed a 1-year deal with the Hornets. They're pushing for a playoff spot.
And they'll probably make it. He's so bad. And then Toronto drafts Colin Murray-Boyles 9th, and then Elijah Martin 39th.
So
a lot of money being spent up north.
So this is what I'll say, Christian. I came to this conclusion, and this is going to be interesting for my Raptor fans. What dawned on me is that the Raptors and their fans are not like the other 29 teams. And the reason is because they're a country. A country is being represented with the Toronto Raptors. So a lot of people hear about winning a championship another, championship another. I really think they want to just be a good team. When you look at the history of the Toronto Raptors, they haven't had a bunch of like tank super bad year. I think they have 5 years in their total history where they won less than 25 games. And 3 of those years were in the first 4 years of them being created. So like the last couple years have not been as great. I think they had 25 wins. I think this past year they had like 30. But even this year, they respectfully tanked, where like the guys played 3 quarters and then they would sub them out in the fourth. You know what I mean? Like really classy. They never doing like the Scotty Barnes ain't gonna play in the last 2 months because his knee hurts. So on one hand, this is an expensive roster. On one hand, this roster is solid. It isn't great. But I think that's all that they really need. And while I'm saying this, if you can, look at their future picks for me. I want to know what their future draft capital looks like, because the other part that I think a lot of people could be missing is they may be big fish hunting. So they may be keeping their money afloat so that if Giannis or one of these Jalen, like one of these other guys become available, they'll have money to match and they'll have their picks. Because if I'm not mistaken, they should have some of their draft picks.
They've got all their own picks, but they don't have anybody else's.
Right. So
they got all their own.
Perfect. So if you needed to give up, if Giannis got available today, they probably would be able to put together a package, because they would have Colin Murray-Boyles now. You have Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter. All of those guys are super young. I haven't really stood out crazy, but I could see somebody wanting Grady Dick attached to a trade. You still have R.J. Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly. Obviously, you don't want to give up Scotty Barnes, but if you're trying to get Giannis, Scotty Barnes would probably have to be a part of that. And then they would have their own picks, which you can attach 2 or 3 of your own picks and a pick swap or something. They'll be there. So, that's a thing that I think a lot of people aren't taking into consideration when you talk about the Raptors. The team is solid. I'm not here to tell Raptor fans that they're going to win 55 games. This team is solid. I do think some of the things are questionable, right? You extended Brandon Ingram before he ever played a single game for you. I am never a fan of that. As much as I love Brandon Ingram, I just personally think I want to see a player with my team, and how he meshes, how he fits before I throw out the big money. But, you would have had to, or you would have, maybe lost him. And then the Emmanuel Quickly deal. That contract is large, man. That contract is large. But I do think that there's some things that they can work with. This team is not awful at all. I kind of like them, but I don't love it. I don't love it. But again, it dawned on me when I was thinking about them, like, man, their fans probably don't give a damn. They don't need to love it. It just be a good team and make the playoffs. Be a 6 seed or something like that, and they'll probably be happy. An entire country is being represented. It's not like fucking, no offense, Sacramento or Charlotte, where it's just like, Toronto has never shown us that they're willing to do a 5-year rebuild. Like the history of their team does not show that. Since I've been alive, the Raptors have not been like a bottom feeder for 5 years where they just won 20 games, 21 games, 19 games, 17. That's never been them. So we have to evaluate how they look at basketball, and they'll take the 45, 46, 47 wins and stay afloat. And shit, they maybe again, you find yourself in another Kawhi situation where one of these guys become available and you trade them and you bring them into a team that has some things ready. And I don't know. I'm not here to say that that's going to happen. I'm just, giving some context.
So the Raptors, real quick, just a little history. 95, they joined the NBA. They won 1 playoff series. before 2015. So it took them 20 years. They won one playoff series, and then in that DeRozan Lowry era, they won between 48 and 53 wins. For 7 years in a row, and then obviously they won the championship. But you're right. I think they want to get back to being just they're cool. Everyone they're on. The talking heads are saying, "Oh, DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, you're never going to be LeBron." Like, yeah, but they're chilling. Like, they're fun. They're a good team.
And like you just said, I'm glad you mentioned it. During those years where they were never going to be LeBron, that was that they were never experiencing even hearing their names be in a context like that. Like, in my life growing up, Vince Carter was dope. He was exciting to watch, but the Raptors, when they were playing like Iverson and the Sixers and shit like that in the playoffs, it was never like, oh man, the Raptors about to. Nah.
Utah. It was 3 years ago that Windhorst delivered his. What does that mean?
That was 3 years ago already? Shit.
Foreshadowing the Utah rebuild. It's been 3 years of bad basketball out there. You get Ace Bailey at 5, Walter Clayton at 18, John Tonje at 53. You grab Nurkic in the trade with the Hornets, and then Sexton's gone and Jordan Clarkson's gone.
I like what they did in the draft. I don't like the Nurkic situation at all. Is he on expiring? That must be what it is. John Collins is back. I wish they would have found a trade suitor for him. Felt like some teams wanted him. I don't know. I'm gonna give them a C. You gotta hope that Ace Bailey is one of those ones, or somebody out of this group starts to show some potential, because this again is a rebuild that just seems like it has no light at the end of the tunnel. And you're gonna need Ace Bailey, Taylor Hendricks, Keontae George, Isaiah Collins, Kyle Filipowski. Somebody's gonna have to break out and say, all right, I'm the standout guy, and now we're building a core around me. So Walker Kessler, I heard, is on a block for 2 first-round picks. Not going to happen. Just not going to happen.
Nurkic last year of that deal he signed in Portland, $19 million.
Boom.
And then he's off the books.
Okay. Makes sense then. Yeah, I'll give them a C.
Last team, who, by the way, I think I'm considering becoming a Washington. I think I might become a Washington Wizards fan because I like what they're doing.
I love everything that they're doing.
So Sadiq Bey gone, Jordan Poole gone. You bring in CJ McCollum, you get Dylan Jones for free, you get Kelly Olynyk, and then love the draft. You get Trey Johnson at 6, Will Riley at 21, Jameer Watkins at 43. It's the league him draft. You got all Jacobs guys.
And you're bringing them in a team that has Bub Carrington, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George. Really, really good team.
AJ Johnson,
Corey Kispert. Really, really good team, man. Really, really good team. A lot of upside here. What I love the most about it, they're going to have a bunch of money coming off the books. Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, Rashawn Holmes, CJ McCollum, Ty Lawson. It's going to be like $189 million coming off of this team next year. Ty Lawson is still on their books. Crazy.
Shabazz too, right?
Shabazz Napier or Shabazz Muhammad?
Napier.
Okay. But I do love these vets being on these 1-year deals to kind of like mentor these guys, right? Like there's some things here. So I like it for them, and I love the young talent that they're bringing in. Kelly Olynyk in the front court with Alex Sarr is going to give them so much space and creativity. Yeah, I like this team a lot, man. I think Trey Johnson going to come in and fill it up and light it up. Give this team 2 years. They're going to be back in the mix. Their organization, the front office, knows exactly what they're doing. Some other teams around the league should take notes. This is a really, really good rebuild so far. I love it. And then with the money opening up, they're going to be able to use that financial flexibility to then keep going out here and absorbing bad contracts to get assets and just continue to allow that asset pool to expand and grow. Because when you look at the NBA and you're seeing how many teams are panicking, and I don't even want to use the word panicking, but you see how many teams are becoming aggressive to take these shots and take these chances, but they're also trying to be smart around the second apron. You need, if you're not going to be a good competing team, you need cap flexibility to step in and be the beneficiary of helping teams. So, the Orlando Magic, if they're trying to make a move next year and they don't have a bunch of wiggle room, and you're the Wizards who have a bunch of wiggle room, hey, man, hell yeah, we'll come in and we'll take Terrence Mann for that 2028 first-round pick. You damn skippy will do that. We got all the money in the world to absorb that. You know what I mean? Hey, Zach, y'all need someone for Zach LaVine to go for his last year? Man, send him over. That's what they've been doing with Smart, Middleton, and now CJ. And then once those guys go off the book, they'll have a brand new canvas to do it for a new batch of guys who are like, hey, y'all really need to get rid of him, huh? Y'all really? Okay, send him here. Give us this, give us that. And we'll start to look at the Wizards like, damn, they got that many first-round picks, or they have that many second-round picks, and they'll be the team that will be able to be like, hey, we'll give you 6 first-round picks because we want to move up and get that guy. I think that's how the game has to be played from a front office standpoint if you're not going to be a good team. Get all your assets up so then when you do start to put it together to be a good team, you have a wide pool to work with. Oklahoma City is giving us a blueprint. Wizards are seeming to follow it, and I think it's going to work.
You know who else did that blueprint? I feel like really well was Houston, because they cleared their books and they had money to bring in a Dylan Brooks and a Fred VanVleet who only knew about winning at the NBA level and the college level, honestly. And like the Washington's going to be able to do that. There's so many free agents coming up.
The Washington.
In the next couple of years. What?
That's the Mike Hurd. Oh. The Washington instead of saying the Wizards.
Also, one thing about the Wizards, as excited as they should be to have Trey Johnson, I feel like they deserved Cooper Flag. I feel like that's where Flag should have gone if the Mavs didn't finesse the lottery. I would have liked to have seen him there.
No, I ain't mad at you.
More than like I would have liked to see him in Utah or Brooklyn.
I would have liked to see him in Brooklyn. I'm not gonna lie, that would have been my choice. But I ain't mad at you. I would not have been mad at Cooper Flag in Washington at all. But yeah, that's a recap of the offseason so far. That was a lot. That was a lot. We are incredible at our job to keep up with all of this stuff and to be able to talk about it in depthly. Like super, super crazy. Thankfully, it's the NBA because there's other content creators who are doing this about the NFL, which is bringing in 20 guys and 7-round drafts and everything like that. So baseball got 162 games of coverage or whatnot. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Please, please, please flood these comments with all of the thoughts and opinions about your team or another thing. If you agree or disagree, we are so open to people that disagree with the things we say. This is what we do it for, is to have good dialogue and conversation and to, inspire and give some creativity to one another. So maybe one of y'all will say something about a team or something and open up my eyes. Like, hey, no, P. No. The Bulls do know what they're doing. And maybe me and Christian will look and be like, oh, he convinced us. I highly doubt it, but maybe you will. As always, this is Tee It Up. I'm PB the Plug, I'm Pierre and Producer, a.k.a. PB the Plug. This is Christian. You can catch us weekly here at Tee It Up. We'll have more content coming to y'all soon. We out. Peace.